All righty, here we go. Brand new Flyers Daily. How about April 10th, 2025? Flyers Daily presented by Ticketmaster. Make more memories live. I was not expecting that. And it's weird because I understand the motivation of people saying now winning is hurting their draft position and they go into the game fourth. It was really worth beating the Rangers last night. As somebody who, when you guys see this, is going into treatment today, I did take some joy out of that. That's the nail in the Rangers' coffin for the playoffs. They were the President's Trophy winner a year ago, and they're not going to make the playoffs this year. I think Tim Saunders said at the end of the radio broadcast, it's only the fourth time that a team has won the President's Trophy and not made the playoffs the following year. And it's a pretty historical juxtaposition from season to season under the same coach who is in year two and didn't all of a sudden forget how to coach. A front office in New York with the Rangers that boggled things in the offseason with information getting out about Kreider and Trouba. Longtime seasoned Rangers and leaders being on the market. What a mess it has become in New York. I think Ranger season ticket holders should expect another letter about a rebuild that was sped up last time because Panarin wanted to go there, as was his right. Adam Fox forced his way there. And the emergence of Igor Shesterkin. And why was Jonathan Quick in that game last night? Must-win game for them. Quick, I love Jonathan Quick. He is my favorite goalie of that generation. And he was a great goalie. He sucked out loud last night. The rebound on the Couturier goal in the third period, as he is like in the right corner, if you're looking at the net, left corner, and leaves a rebound to the right side of the ice, was just hideous. The goal that Hathaway scored on him, the shorthanded goal to get the Flyers on the board in the second period, leaks through the body. I know it was a good shot through the legs of the defender, and Hathaway used the defender brilliantly. But that can't go in. I thought Quick was hideous in the game last night. And in a game where the New York Rangers are playing for their playoff lives at home against a team that's the bottom-ranked team in the division, the Flyers, they're the 8th team. And in the third period of that game, going into the third 2-2, the Flyers outshot the Rangers 17-7. That tells me all I need to know about that team, about the Rangers. They got no belly. And the Flyers, what does the game tell me, is that as long as you have professional athletes that are pros and competitors, it doesn't matter if the game doesn't have meaning toward the playoffs or long-term or really influential meaning. That's a culture thing. Like that game last night in that third period was one where they came out. Now, the Rangers sucked in the third period, but the Flyers caused some of that too. It takes two here. But the Flyers came out and dominated that third period in a game that didn't matter a lick for them. And that is a culture that you can carry from year to year. People say culture smulcher. And I think a lot of those people that don't believe that culture matters, I don't think that they ever played team sport, because that culture does matter and that can carry forward. I believe that. I believe that does matter for when you are good. And I think you get good faster if you have that in a rebuild. I think some teams haven't had that in their rebuilds, and they've been prolonged, like Buffalo. I think for a long time there was a little of that in Toronto. I don't know if there still is, but there was. I think there was some of that. And you see some of the teams that are in perpetual rebuild, and I think that part of the reason that they have some good like Buffalo's got good players, but something's wrong. What is wrong? It's culture and accountability and all those things that I think do matter. Third period of the game, 9 total goals last night. As I said, the Flyers and Rangers went in, tied at 2 after 2 periods of play. Flyers outshot them 17-7 in the third. 9 total goals in the period. Flyers go ahead 3-2. Travis Sanheim's 8th. The Rangers tie it at 3 on Brodzinski's 11th. Then JT Miller on a one-time bomb beats Alexei Kolosov to make it 4-3 Rangers. You're going, okay, they're probably going to win the game now. They're up. But no, exactly a minute later, the Flyers answer when Jacob Peltier picks up his 6th of the season, tied at 4. Then Sean Couturier gives the Flyers the 5-4 lead in the goal I mentioned with the hideous rebound from Jonathan Quick. Then at 15:33, Tyson Foerster picks up his 2nd of the game, 21st of the season to make it 6-4. Kreider, with the goalie pulled early, gets the Rangers back within 1 to make it 6-5 at 18:10. And then they pull the goalie again because they're still down a goal. And Tyson Foerster gets the empty net goal to make it 7-5. And then Owen Tippett, an empty netter, to make it 8-5. 9 goals in the period. I don't remember a 9-goal period for the Flyers that I can recall. I just don't recall it. The record in the NHL is 12 goals combined in a single period. It happened in 1920 between the Quebec Bulldogs and the Ottawa Senators. And it also happened in the 22-23 season between Montreal and Florida. So it doesn't happen often. I mean, it wasn't 12 goals, but 9 doesn't happen often, especially in today's game. So that's one maybe for a Flyers record book. I'll have to ask Bill Meltzer about that. But what a third period, and a very telling way each team came out. You would think the Flyers in a 2-2 game were the team fighting for their playoff lives, and the Rangers were mailing it in and playing out the string. That's what it looked like on the ice. At least to me, it looked like that. Now, the Flyers got 4 games left. They'll be back in action coming up Saturday at home. They'll take on the New York Islanders. Where are the Islanders in the standings? Let's bring up the standings here so we can just reference this. The Islanders right now are sitting in the 4th spot in the Metropolitan Division, also with 79 points like the Rangers. They have 77 games played, Flyers with 78, or Rangers rather, with 78 games played, Flyers also with 78 games played, Flyers 73 points. So we'll see the Islanders coming up on Saturday at Wells Fargo, 12:30 game, back-to-back games this weekend, both matinees, 12:30 Saturday with the Isles, and then Sunday in Ottawa against the Senators, Claude Giroux at 1 o'clock. The Senators right now holding down wild card number 1, and they've got a 3-point advantage on wild card number 2, which is the Montreal Canadiens. The Senators are clinched for the playoffs. Montreal, that's probably because the Flyers beat the Rangers tonight. And Montreal holding down that other playoff spot with 87 points. They're 8 points up on the chasing pack of Detroit, the Islanders, the Blue Jackets, and seemingly, I guess, the Rangers. But the Rangers are freaking cooked. They're done. Then the Flyers will have the home finale, which I'm really hoping to attend. I want to be there really badly. So I haven't been to a game since December, and I want to just finish the season walking out of the building and not being at home and doing that. So home finale against Columbus on Tuesday, and then Buffalo will round out the 24-25 season coming up on Thursday in Buffalo. That's all that's left. That's all the meat that's left on this bone. Not much left in a season that, in a lot of ways, will be forgettable for a lot of fans because of the result of the season, but could be monumental on the effect of the future of this organization. Now, why do I say that? Because this season, we saw the departure of 3 former Flyer first-round picks. Scott Lawton was a first-round pick. Morgan Frost is a first-round pick. And Joel Farabee was a first-round pick. Gaining the Flyers more assets, gaining the Flyers more cap flexibility moving forward to now build in the rebuild, not tear down. So this season, while very disappointing, and it's been hard to go through as a fan, could be monumental in what comes. We'll see in time about that. That's going to take time for us to see how those moves play out, what those players do where they are, and what the Flyers do with those picks. Like if you look at Farabee and Frost, that's part of the old Shen deal to the St. Louis Blues. And now neither player's here. So you look at those things. Remember Yuri Laterra came in that deal as well? You look at those things going forward, and all said and done, what happened, and not to mention the draft pick of getting a high pick, whether they finish 4th from the bottom, 5th. We'll see what the draft lottery has in store for the Flyers. When that comes up, probably in the first round of the playoffs, coming up here in a couple of weeks. But this season will have lasting consequences going forward. That's the one thing about this season that we know for sure. Now, Tyson Forster picks up the hat trick in the game last night, gets to 22 goals on the season. That's a career high. That's a good thing. Very defensively responsible winger. You saw the shot on the first goal last night. Stick was really far away from his body. I think he just fooled Quick. I think Quick thought he was going to pull it in closer to snap it off, but he just triggered it with it far from his body and got good, got a lot on it. That's because he's got a really good, powerful shot, both the slap shot and the wrist shot, which you saw on the goal. And we talked about yesterday, the science of scoring. Where was he when he scored that goal? Right in the place where 34% of the goals in the NHL are scored from, on the highest percentage of shot you can take to score from there, a wrist shot. And he ends up beating Jonathan Quick. So a good thing to see out of Tyson Forster. Like to see a little more consistency and higher point totals going forward. Same thing for Owen Tippett. But a good step in the right direction for Tyson Forster this season once again. So Flyers will be back Saturday at Wells Fargo Center to continue the final stages of this season. Now, as for the rest of this podcast, let's get to a couple emails, couple DMs regarding some of the shows that we've done this week. Craig emails in, Craig Keller, said, great to see you doing the show regularly. I trust you're feeling okay through this treatment cycle. And yes, kind of crazy. The end of the season is a week away. I have treatment today, Thursday. So I probably will not be doing the podcast coming up tonight for tomorrow for Friday. I'll have to see how I feel to be able to do the game broadcasts coming up on Saturday and Sunday, both day. They come and unhook my infusion pump on Saturday, and that usually leads to a lot of fatigue. For example, last time when they unhooked it at 10:30 in the morning, I fell asleep at noon on Saturday, and I woke up pretty much. I got up a couple times to use the lavatory and have a quick bite to eat and right back to sleep. I basically slept from noon on Saturday until 3:15 Sunday afternoon. So we'll see what that has in store, but I'm going to hope to be back for Mondays with Meltzer coming up next week to kick off the week. A lot to talk about. Craig goes on to say, looking forward to the playoffs with incredible first round 2-3 matchups. Every matchup looks really intriguing to me. The Battle of Ontario, Battle of Florida. It's going to be fascinating. He said, hopefully in a couple of years, the Flyers can routinely join the playoff madness. It's been far too long. Totally agree. He said, great email from Jared, which we featured on yesterday's episode. And I'm with you. Michkov not moving to center. Flyers need to maximize his offensive potential, and the extra responsibility of center adds too much risk to his development. I agree. Giving him the freedom to be creative without simultaneously worrying about defensive responsibilities seems like a very difficult thing to navigate. Mish is certainly extremely talented, and let's maximize what he does best, creating goals, a rare skill. Take care, and wishing you the best tomorrow. Thanks, Craig. Appreciate the email, Craig. I agree. Just because his position doesn't say center on the roster or on NHL.com doesn't mean that in the offensive zone he can't do things that centers do, and doesn't mean that in the D zone he doesn't have to do the things that centers do. In the offense, he's positionless in the offensive zone. He's going to do what he does, and I wouldn't say he does what a center does. I wouldn't say he does what a winger does. He does what a highly skilled, highly offensive IQ player does. Sees what the other team is doing and exploits its weakness. That's what he does as an offensive player. Come hell or high water, any area of the zone. And he doesn't give a damn if it's below the goal line. He will look to make plays from everywhere. And that positionless element, that unpredictability, is an enormous part of his game and will continue to be one of the things that leaves other teams scratching their heads. It just will. He takes, we can say, well, he should do this more in the offensive zone. Well, you got to look at what the other team's trying to thwart, what they're trying to prevent. And then you have to find, okay, they're trying to prevent that. Where is my opportunity? That's what Michkov does so well. So good at reading and calculating the soft spots in coverage of the opposition. That's why he's great, because he can do that with his hockey IQ and his brain faster than 99.9% of the hockey players in the world. And it's play and process where the opportunities are to create offense at light speed. That's why I don't care if he's a center in the offensive zone. I don't care if he's listed that way. He's going to play wherever opportunity presents itself in the offensive zone to make plays, set up plays, and tenderize a defense. So I do agree. I don't want to put him in, and I don't want him joining the zone late because he's back in coverage. I want him up leading rushes because he's so good at distributing as well. Bob he shot us an email, went on to say a couple of things, but he said the other thing I wanted to mention and get your input on is something that annoys me all the time. This week, the Flyers signed Carson Dorwart out of college and brought him to the Orange and Black. He's a center, and they hope he can be an option to throw in the mix as a potential 1C down the road. I don't think that they're looking at him as a 1C. Bob, that's not Carson Dorwart at the NHL. He's not a top 6 center candidate at the NHL level, in my opinion. And I believe they think probably best case scenario for Carson Dorwart. And look, guys have defied predictions before. This is an older player, came out of the college game, is maybe 3C or 4C in the NHL. So I don't think he's in that mix. He said they brought him to town for the stretch to see what he can do. And I'm using him as a reference point here for this argument because he's new and he's fresh on our minds. But this happens almost every year. He was a top line center for his college team, not a fourth line center. So why play him on the fourth line in this mini tryout? You're giving him to play out the rest of the season with really no harm, no foul. Now you could put him with different players. He saw some power play time in the first game. They have put him out there with skilled players, so they are doing that. But I mean, who are you going to move down to the fourth line? Are you going to move Couturier off the Michkov connecting line to play him there? Are you going to move Noah Cates, out of the middle with Tyson Forster and Bobby Brink, which has been a really consistent line for the Flyers? Are you going to put him on the third line instead of Ryan Poehling, who's been a point per game player in the last 10 games and just coming in? I don't know. I don't know that I would do that. He got some power play time. So you have seen him out there in that, and they'll probably try some different mixes at practice. Bob went on to say these last 6 games he gets really are no risk. It's only 5, but you want to see how he can play, whether he can be an option for 1C or even 2C. I think they're wasting his 6 games. I just don't agree that he's an option at 1C or 2C. He did say, I look forward to your thoughts, Jason. I wish you well in your continued battle. I've had friends go through that as well and have seen the torture. Good luck to you, my friend. I know you'll come out on the other side victorious. As a Mandalorian would say, this is the way. Bob, thank you for your email. Thank you for your words as well. You guys help motivate me more than you have any idea. Got this DM from another Bob Reed. He said, I assume you already filled the Tuesday episode, but I'm watching the Monday episode now. This was in regards to Bill's appearance. He said Bill's talking about how Brad Shaw is a career assistant. Like that's a bad thing. I don't think Bill was saying that was a bad thing. It's just the fact of the matter that he had a little taste of an NHL job. I think it was about 20 games and has been an assistant in the NHL. But he said, I just want to point out that Philly's promoted a career assistant to their manager spot, and it has worked wonders in Topper. No titles yet, but they have at least made it and have been a powerhouse since he took over. Give him a chance. Yeah, Rob Thompson's done a great job with the Phillies. Baseball and hockey are different. Rob Thompson, I don't know the intricacies of how he manages, but he has done a good job. And look, I think there are times when guys have been assistant coaches for a long time and have gotten an opportunity and done well with it. I think you absolutely talk to Brad Shaw, and he is a candidate for the job. But again, you got to look at everything. What's the trajectory of the team? What's the plan for the building part? What's the pace of that plan? How does Brad Shaw fit into that plan? You know, what they've put forward here since he's taken over, he's putting some good stuff down. He's putting himself in a more advantageous position with the way the team has responded. We got another DM here from GR. Longtime Flyer fan, relatively new to following the team closely. Love the podcast and love your insight you bring within the organization to us fans. Hope you're doing well and feeling all right. Keep fighting. Thank you. He said, my question or thought I wanted to bring up here is my buddy and I were discussing Claude Giroux today, who the Flyers will play on Sunday, and him getting another shot at the playoffs with Ottawa this year. The conversation led us to checking on Giroux's contract, and it turns out he's up at the end of the season. He signed a 3-year extension or 3-year contract when he went to Ottawa after the Flyers traded him to Florida. He said, my buddy suggested, what if the Flyers signed Giroux to a 1-year deal to allow him another season and retire in Philly? I'm sure he doesn't want to retire yet, and a short-term deal could help fill the cap as well as bring a beloved veteran back to the city of brotherly love. Sorry, my voice is a little weak today. Let me know what you think or bring it up on the pod, and I'll be listening. Once again, thank you for everything you do. We're all rooting for you. Thanks. His name's Greg. Thanks for the email, Greg. As far as Giroux coming back, yeah, his contract is up. I don't think I've corresponded with him a little bit lately. He messaged me when it got public that I got sick, and I was pretty close with Claude when he was here. I got to know him pretty well, and he was a guy that I would go back and forth. He would tend to break my stones quite a bit about things, but is he a guy that would come back here? Does it make sense for the Flyers? Now, in 78 games this year, he's got 15 goals, 34 assists, 49 points. He has had a drop-off in productivity. He's not as young as he once was, which he'll hate me saying. He is 37 years of age. He'll be 38 coming up on the 12th of January next year. As much of a Claude Giroux honk as I was, I would battle people on the radio for years about the player that he was when people said, he's not a big-time player, doesn't get it done, all those things. And as much as I like him, and I think he still does have some game left in him, I don't think he'll retire. I am not in favor of bringing him back. And because I think you have to pave a new path forward. And bringing in a 38-year-old guy to be a role player that, frankly, is a franchise icon for the 900 points, 1,000 games that he played here, to me, I don't go down that road. His game is declining a little bit. He's got 49 points this year. He had 64 last year, 21 and 43. Year prior, he had 79 points. The year that last year he played with the Flyers, he had 42 with the Flyers and 23 with Florida. So that's what, 45, 65 points. His game is declining, which happens. But I would not be in favor of bringing him back. I think it also creates a weird vibe for the new and younger leadership group to bring a former captain back into the equation. But I thank you for your note, Craig. I really appreciate it. So, yeah, I don't think I'd bring him back. I'm not really nostalgic about bringing a player back to retire in the jersey after you traded him. You traded him already. It's already kind of done. And you got to move on. Maybe it makes for a good story if the Flyers were going into next season as a cup contender. He could come back and win a cup, and he would be like a missing piece on the third line. Could play wing and kill penalties, take great key face, all those things. But that's not the situation. It just doesn't match up for me. One last one from Angie, who DMs me quite a bit. She said, hi, Jason. John and I, John's your significant other, really enjoyed your podcast today. That was the one yesterday about the science of scoring and Michkov at center. They said, well, we enjoy all of them. We agree that Michkov shouldn't play center. We also wanted to say all the best with your treatment. Sending some positive energy your way, Angie and John. I think they're from Calgary. Yeah, they're from Calgary, Alberta. So, Angie, John, as always, thank you very, very much. Your support means everything to me. All right. Off to treatment I go. This will be 7 down, 1 to go. You can see the goal line. You can see the clock counting down. This is the third period, the last two. Win the period, win the game. I say it all the time. And we'll get after it today. And I should be back on Monday for Mondays with Meltzer. Brian Smith likely will have you covered for tomorrow. But everybody, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. We'll talk to you next time on a brand new Flyers Daily.